Welcome to this episode of North vs South, where we discuss video games, technology, TV and movies. In this episode, we discuss Fallout 4 and somehow talk about Xbox and PS5 and all those shenanigans.
So, Josh, you finally got round to playing Fallout 4. What did you think of the game?
Yeah, that's one way of putting it. I've had it for a little bit. I've had it for a while, but for some reason I just had never started it. Yeah, I kind of liked it.
Well, the thing is, you're not really a big fan of the previous games, though, are you? Like Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas.
It's not that I'm not a fan, it's that I haven't managed to get very far through those two games. So Fallout 3 I have played the most, but I've only gotten as far as the radio station, and I think I've actually tried to play that game twice, and both times that's about where I kind of stopped. And then because I kept not playing it, I kind of thought, okay, I'll skip Fallout 3 and I'll try New Vegas. New Vegas I didn't get far in at all. I think I got to the first settlement and I'm just leaving the first settlement.
You're in the first settlement. When you start the game, you're in the settlement itself.
Yeah, that village, it's that small town where you kind of get your first jobs. I'm kind of there, and I did a few jobs in and around it. Like I think there's one where you kind of like you shoot some beasts around. I don't know.
Oh my god!
I'm barely at the tutorial area on New Vegas. Yeah, I just wasn't getting into the game. I think I probably started it at the wrong time. There might have been other games that came out that kind of took my attention away or something. So I just didn't get very far in those games. I'm thinking about going back to them, but that might be interesting.
I know people might hate me for this, but I would say skip 3 and go and play New Vegas, because there's a lot of elements.
No, well, a lot of people say that, and that's actually why I thought about doing it, is because I thought, everyone's talking about how good New Vegas is. So that's why I kind of gave up with Fallout 3 and went to New Vegas. But I think what I'm probably going to do in the grand scheme is eventually I will go back to Fallout 3 and do New Vegas as well. But I'll probably do them modded, because I've only done them at the moment completely vanilla. So I'll probably mod them a little bit, make them just a bit. Because like one thing about Fallout 3 is not having first person aiming on the guns is just a bit annoying. And that was actually something I noticed with Fallout 3. I don't know if I noticed, like honestly, I don't know if I noticed that it wasn't first person shooting, even though it was. No, it is first person, but you don't aim down the sight when you kind of go into aim mode. It just kind of like zooms the gun in. And I remember when I was playing that game just thinking how rubbish the guns were compared to like swords or anything in Skyrim. And I was like, I didn't understand why I liked Skyrim, but I couldn't get along with Fallout 3. And I think it's because of the gunplay mechanics in it just weren't that great. Whereas New Vegas and Fallout 4, it is a bit, if you've played any first person shooter, it is a bit more normal. So I might just mod up both of those games and try them out, and maybe I'll actually be able to finish them, because I do want to play them. I definitely want to play them, especially for the story. And I do like I played Skyrim 3 times, and I've played them in various different ways, and just do the main story, ignore the main story, do all the side missions. So I'm kind of I do actually quite like the Bethesda way of storytelling and game mission, all that kind of stuff. So I should like the game. I just haven't managed to get into it, that's all. But with Fallout 4, I can't remember why I started it. I picked it up ages ago, like maybe over Christmas, or maybe just shortly afterwards. And I kind of just... something about the game just kind of it just got into my skin that I was able to play it. So I will say, let me pull up Steam. So before I played in, this is my first playthrough of Fallout 4. I hadn't even once launched the game, and currently my Fallout 4 play hours is 177 hours, and that's since January some point. So it's safe to say I enjoyed the game and then some. And I did play it in a really weird way. I didn't go through the main story mission. I think I was like level 50 before I'd even done the third story mission. Like I just kept doing all the side missions and everything before I'd even got into like Diamond City or anything.
Did you not get
like
bored?
that.
Like,
So,
I forgot the guy's name, but the Preston is like,
Preston.
yeah, and he's
With
like, I've put it on the map.
I know. I knew the meme before I went into the game, and do you know what? I was mostly okay with it, partly because it's exactly the same as in the Thieves Guild in Skyrim, where you go to delve in, or there's a woman, and they just keep giving you these never-ending quests, and if you don't pick up the next quest, they make you feel bad, so you have to finish the quest and immediately pick one up. It never ends. So I'm kind of used to that gameplay or that mission giver outery type stuff, so I was okay with it. And I wasn't like, I did do the settlements and everything, but that's not what I was doing. I was exploring, and I remember one evening I had a plan to do something, and then I just ended up in a random unmarked location just doing some more like exploration, and just, oh, well, this has gone, like, I'm like 3 levels deep here and everything. So I just found it like a surprisingly good game. And the other thing is, like, there's been just a lot of like people talking badly about it online, and maybe playing it as my first proper Fallout 4 game, I've not seen the decline from Fallout 3 and New Vegas that everyone talks about. So having that as my first Fallout game might have been a benefit in some ways. And although graphically and game mechanic wise and bugginess, the other games are going to be terrible, but the story might be elevated.
Well, Fallout 4, it just doesn't have a lot of RPG elements. It kind of feels like an RPG, but it kind of isn't. And there's not a lot of choices you can actually make. Every choice that you actually, it's like, they don't really differ. It gets the same sort of outcome.
Yeah, I mean, the big decision you make at the end with the factions, it's one decision or out of 4 factions, and there's slight variances in all the endings, and but either way, you're going to be pissing off or destroying one or more factions. So I was going to do the railroad ending, but at the last minute I kind of decided I should probably do what's probably the canon ending, which was the Minutemen, and then probably on later run-throughs might do the other endings. But I did also put I did a manual save game just before I went to the Institute, so I can actually just do the other 3 endings without having to play through the whole game.
Did you kill your son?
Oh yeah, almost immediately.
Oh, so you didn't like let it play out for a bit, like see what he wanted, do the mission.
Oh no! I did talk to him, and I even left the Institute and went back, but I just had no. I'm now trying to put myself in my character's shoes, and from her perspective, yes, she has just met the son who she's been looking for the last 200 hours in my playthrough. But I was slightly sympathetic, and there is a part of me that actually wants to play the Institute ending. But then I was thinking about all the stories that like Diamond City people were talking about, about synths coming in and abducting people. We don't know how true that is or anything, but I know there's other things where they were they kidnapping and torturing people? There was some really bad stuff going on that the Institute were doing. And I was like, okay, no, that actually does have to end. So I went in there, and what did I do? I think I stabbed him. I had one of the unique knives that you get from a Skyrim-esque cavern it's like Dromisk's cave, the mining thing. It begins with D. It's up in the north of the map, and there's this like, as you go through it, it feels like you're going through a Skyrim sort of level, and then there's this very unique dagger that looks like a Skyrim dagger. So I used that to take him out, and then had to shoot my way out of the Institute. There were so many people coming for me. There were bodies everywhere.
Isn't his son is dying, isn't he? And then because when I played it first,
I didn't know he was dying. He was 70 years old. Like, he's just an old man. Whether he was dying or not, I didn't know.
Well, I don't know if I want to spoil it or not to you, but
well, I didn't go through all. I thought I went through all the options, but actually something happened in my playthrough where when I was speaking to him, and I thought I was going to make the decision whether or not I was going to stay or go, it went right back to the beginning of him introducing the robot Sean, the synth Sean. So I had to redo like all of that really long talking. I did do 2 of the options. Does he talk about that only if you do the Institute ending, or does he tell you that regardless?
No, he says. I remember he's saying he's dying. And he's on like a table. He's on like a bed, and you just shoot him on the bed.
No, he wasn't. He was standing up, and then he sat down on a bench, and I stabbed him.
No, I swear, in my playthrough, you can like he's dying. I think he's like cancer.
Which ending did you actually do?
I went with, but this is before the ending. Like you have choices. And then
yeah. So the first time you go to the Institute, you meet with the father.
Yeah, and he gives you like a bunch of tasks, and you start doing that, and then
I didn't do any tasks for the Institute.
Well, there you go. That's what.
Yeah, but that's because if you do tasks for the Institute, then you. The problem is, I was trying to read up on the consequences. I wanted to do stories, but I didn't want to.
Yeah, I see what I mean.
I don't want to go too far down one way and piss off one of the other factions. So I was like, if I do the Institute missions, will I not be able to continue with the Railroad or Brotherhood of Steel, or because there's a point of no return, and I wasn't 100% sure where that was, and I didn't want to go looking for the answer in case I got spoilt with the story. Although I already knew, because someone memed it years ago, that Fallout 3 you're looking for your father, and then Fallout 4 you're looking for your son. And I was like, oh, okay, well that's ruined that storyline for me. I know whatever it is at the end, it's going to be my son or her son.
I think in Fallout New Vegas they make it a lot more because
well, that's much different. Fallout New Vegas, you're going after someone who shot you in the head.
Well, I'm saying for the factions, like in terms of knowing who. So if you start doing one for like the NCIA, I think they call it. I can't remember.
New Californian Republic.
Yeah, or the Legion. If you start doing missions for them, you like get shunned upon, but you're not like. But if you keep doing it, and then you're like hated and stuff. So I can't remember if they got that in Fallout 4, like the action.
I don't think so. I don't know if they had that full thing.
That's why New Vegas is better in my opinion, because it's like.
Well, no. Well, the thing is, what they have that with like your companions. Preston likes that. Preston disliked that, so they had that mechanic in a slightly different way with companions, but with the factions you could work with all of them until you did a certain mission with any of them, which would then start that faction's ending, and then you'd have the consequences would be, depending on which one you go for, you either lose one of them, two of them, or three of them. So I went with the Minutemen, managed to stay friendly with all three of them. So Minutemen, the Brotherhood of Steel, and the Railroad, I kept all three of them. But I think if you do the Institute, you definitely lose the Brotherhood of Steel and the Railroad, and I'm not sure about the Minutemen. But
I went with the Brotherhood of Steel, and I think I had to go underground, so I'm guessing that's the road. I don't know, it's been so long.
It's an old game. It came out in like 2014, I think.
2015.
Only 8 years late to the party. But then I played Skyrim for the first time in 2018, so...
Here's a good question. Did you ever use the create mechanisms? Like, you can create your own little house?
Oh, in the settlements? Yes, I did.
I did as well for a little while.
So I actually built up a fair amount in Sanctuary. That's the only place I did any building. I demolished one of the houses and used the base, and I built a 3-story tower because one time Sanctuary got invaded by raiders and one of the settlers jumped into my power armor and buggered off with it. At the time I only had one set of power armor and I was very annoyed. So what I then did is I made a 3-story building. To get into the building you had to jump over a gap, so settlers would never pathfind up there, but I could still access it, and I put a fast travel point at the top as well. And I kind of basically started building a Stark Tower, because by the end of the game I had 12 power armor frames and all of them had power armor bits on it. I had everything from low-level raider gear, full T45s, T51, multiple T60s. I had 2 XOR1s, which I think are the strongest in the game. I've got some unique ones from some of the DLC. So there's a T60 with added electrical stuff to give you more shock protection and more shock dealing. I've got 2 Brotherhood of Steel suits, T60s, and then I got a jetpack on my main suit. I love the jetpack. That was great fun.
I hated it.
So yeah, the building, I did that purely to show off all of the power armor suits that I had. I built it in such a way that I was at first I had them in each corner like guards, and then eventually I had so many that I've got 2 or 3 in each corner. So I've got a set here of all the raiders, a set here of the Brotherhood of Steel, and so on. So if I remember, I might stick a screenshot in the podcast feed and on the YouTube so you can kind of see what I did. I kind of went a bit crazy, and that's another one of those things. Is I said to my wife, I said, I'm not going to play anything, really. I'm just going to spend the evening building and just making something. And I did slightly enjoy it. It's not like Minecraft building. It's more like Ark, and it's super awkward and horrible, and nothing looks nice and everything. But it was still rewarding in one sense, as opposed to just having random buildings made for you. So I liked it a little bit, but I didn't go as mad as some other people have gone with building.
I was going to say I didn't like the power armor. Hated it.
Why not?
Because you don't have that in Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. It's kind of just you go into this massive mech suit thing and you walk around. It's just, I don't know. I just didn't get on with it at all.
What do you mean you don't have it in Fallout 3 and New Vegas? They do have power armor.
They do have power armor, but it's like armor you put on yourself. You don't have to supply it with there's
fusion cores.
Fusion cores, yeah. And it wasn't this big, massive, and it started making these you walking around in a mech suit. You know what I mean? It's just.
I thought that was the whole point. I thought that the lore behind it is supporting the fact that they built these suits to make the super soldiers and radiation.
But when you get in it in Fallout 4, you feel like it's this huge thing, and you're walking around, and you're making these massive footsteps. You can go. I just didn't get on with it. I didn't get on with the view, because they changed the view as well, don't they? It's not like your normal view. Yeah,
so you instead of having the Pip-Boy, you have a HUD. I was okay with it. I was alright with it. It felt.
I just couldn't get on with it. I was like,
The view in the power armor feels more canon to in-game than the health bar, because it's built into the suit, whereas the other thing is just an overlay on the screen.
Yeah, I just think it's when you equip it in Fallout 3, it's just it's armor, you just equipped it, and then you're like, oh great, it's not this
So you don't feel like you're in power armor in the other games?
Yeah, but it didn't change it so you felt kind of.
But you're in a massive. You are in a massive suit of power armor. It adds about 1.5 foot to your height. And it's massive, and if you look at some of the perks, some
maybe
of them
I just didn't want that realism, too much realism. I just wanted to keep the same.
Well, I think the game is quite good with its armor and non-power armor stuff that you don't have to have power armor.
Yeah, that's the thing. I just skipped it. I was just like, nah, I'm alright. I just go with my regular armor and just equip it.
I mean, I quite liked it. The only thing I didn't like was the constant, looking at the fusion core draining and. The thing beeping at 20% and making sure it doesn't run out in the middle of a battle. So you got all these fusion cores that are 20%, 30% used. So you kind of manage, you have to manage it a little bit, which does feel a bit weird. But it felt, as someone who hasn't really played the other games and certainly didn't get to power armor usage in the others, it didn't feel out of place for the technology the world possesses in that universe. I was surprised at how early you get power armor, though.
Oh yeah, it's like the first mission.
It's in the second mission.
Yeah, it's like that in that town, isn't it? The first town is from Sanctuary. You go over that little bridge, don't you? And you have to take out those raiders.
Yeah, go down the bridge, go past Red Rocket, go into Concord, and then that's where you meet Preston and the gang, and then they immediately put you into power armor suit. So, assuming you do the standard order of missions, it is the second mission.
I would say though, I was going to ask, I can't remember. Did they allow you to put mods and stuff on your guns?
Yeah, you can mod pretty much everything: guns, armor, and power armor.
Because that was in New Vegas. I love like repairing your guns. So like you could, I don't know if it's the.
So that's something. Yeah, that is actually something. So they don't have gun damage. So I think I remember that from Fallout 3. Your guns, don't they like break or they start jamming or something like that?
Yeah, every time you use it, it starts like getting degraded.
Yeah, so Fallout 4 doesn't have that. It just has improvements to your gun in various different ways, or changes in one to make it lighter but doesn't fire as far.
Well, yeah, they kind of
like
had that in Fallout 3, because like if you repair it to like 100%, then the better the gun is, and then you got. And Fallout...
Yeah.
I think in Fallout 3 as well, you might have mods.
Yeah, I think it does in Fallout 3. I vaguely remember carrying multiple weapons of the same type just because of that whole damage thing.
Yeah.
And either maybe you could like put them together to make one better gun, or I can't quite remember, but I vaguely remember that being a thing. But Fallout 3 I haven't played for about 5 years. New Vegas I probably did 2 years ago.
What did you think when you first saw your son at the Institute? Was you like, because in my head I was like, wait a minute, have they frozen? Did they freeze him? And then I was like, nah, no way, this is not my son. So
the whole story was being ambiguous on purpose about how old he was, and they were trying to tell you, you first come out of the vault and you think it's been like 1 day since that all happened. And then you kind of travel through, and eventually you think it's been like 10 years or something, like he's maybe 10 years old. But there was a few points in the storyline, and it was before she got to the Institute, and I was thinking my character, she was so adamant that he was 10 years old, and I kept thinking, but he isn't 10 years old. Well, he might not be 10 years old. Like we saw, like from the from the player's perspective, we saw him get taken, and then we come out of the thing. We don't know how much time has elapsed. It could have been 10 years. It could have been 100. And again, like, it's not fully original because, like I said, I was vaguely spoiled. I didn't know her son was going to be called the father. And when I saw the father in the game the first couple of times, I didn't think that's her son, but I did know that her son was the main protagonist. So I knew, especially going into that room and seeing a 10-year-old boy, I knew that wasn't going to be him. I was like, oh, that's going to be a synth. We've seen fully human synths in the world at that point, so that wasn't a surprise or a stretch to even come to before she was told, the main character is told. So
why would he do that? Why would the son do that? Just weird.
There are reasons in the terminals if you go and read them, but I'm not someone who reads everything. Games like Horizon, they've got similar data points, and I collect them and I kind of look at them, but I don't take in every word like some people do. So I think it is explained in the game as to why, but I cannot remember the reason. I think. Oh no! I do know the reason. So because I've been watching a whole. Since I've finished the game, I've been watching some videos just on Fallout 4. How did the main character get out of the vault? Do you know?
Your character?
Yeah. How does the main character get out of the vault? Because everyone's dead. Who pressed the button to let her out or him out? Have you thought about that? Like,
it must have been the son.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's like proven in the lore, but the thinking is that the Institute managed to get into the vault to get the son in the first instance, so they would be able to access the vault the second time when the main character is released. I think there's something about Kellogg, who is the guy who did the murder and the kidnapping. He was starting to go off the rails again, so the father opened up the vault, released you into the wild, hoping that you would find and deal with Kellogg and just to see what would happen. There's a bit more nuance that I'm forgetting and leaving out, but there is a YouTube channel called The Epic Nate, and he does Fallout and Skyrim videos, and that was actually just a comment he made in an hour-long video about Deacon and the railroad, but he just mentioned that, when the Institute let you out or something like that, and I think the thinking is that they somehow had control back from when they accessed the vault the first time, and they were able to release the cryopod and allow you to open the vault and kind of escape. So
he was a baby when it was taken.
He was a baby when it was taken.
How did he know? How told him that he was taken?
They told him. I don't think it was kept a secret from him. He wasn't a slave. He was just used the way he was and then allowed to live within the Institute, grow up, become a scientist, and then eventually become the director.
I remember at some point you talked to him on the roof of some building.
Yeah, I've seen a screenshot. I think...
and at that point, it's like, he gives you, like... At that point, I think that's the choice. And then I think he tells you, it's like, yeah, I'm dying with cancer. I think he wants you to take over as director.
Yes, yeah.
If I remember correctly. And I was like, F you, you're not telling me what to do. And I killed him. I did something, or I can't remember, like, I think you, like, set a bomb off or something. You do something to really hurt the Institute, and he, like, somehow...
Did you destroy the Institute?
Yeah, I can't remember. And there's something, and he's like, you have killed us all, or something, and, like, you've destroyed humanity and stuff like this.
Oh, I didn't let him live long enough to do any of that stuff, so...
Vague memories, but yeah. But, yeah, for me, like, it's a good game, but it's not really... The RPG elements are not there.
The thing is, though, the RPG elements are appropriate for its time period, because at the end of the day, the Fallout franchise was growing, and I think the majority of the players would prefer the game it was than the game that Fallout 3 was. Like, I know some people are going to hate me for saying that.
Oh, no. Yeah,
but you look at everything. You look at the Elder Scrolls and how in Morrowind you got a vague set of instructions on how to do, where to go and what to do your mission. Skyrim, you got a full-on waypoint and fast travel. You look at other franchises. You look at Grand Theft. The older games didn't have checkpoints, or you had to go to a particular place to save. GTA 5, you got checkpoints every 20 seconds, and you can save from your phone at any point in the map. Gaming has just become a lot more casual, and Fallout 4 is a way more casual game than Fallout 3 is.
It is.
And from your perspective, that's bad. From the general gaming perspective and Bethesda's wallet, selling the game's perspective, it's better. I'm not saying it's better. I've not played the other games, or I've not successfully played all the other games. But, like I said, I struggled to play the other games, and I am a gamer, and I have been gaming for, like, literally 20 years, and I couldn't get into Fallout 3, and I think that is actually because other people have seen say the gameplay in Fallout 3 isn't actually that great, so I feel slightly relieved about that. And so Fallout 4 is a good casual game, but it's not like what Fallout 3 could have been.
I think the solution for many people was to play the Outer Worlds, because it's most of the developers were from Fallout New Vegas.
Oh, I must have misheard that. I thought that game was from people from one of the GTA studios.
No, it's from some of them from the Fallout.
Obsidian, isn't it? I've heard that fact. I must have just misremembered it.
Have you tried the Outer Worlds?
No, I haven't had a chance to play it, and I've not. I've looked at it, but I haven't picked it up yet.
I've tried it, and it's very similar to like New Vegas, and
that means nothing to me.
it's just New Vegas is the same as Fallout 3, but New Vegas is, in my opinion, slightly better. So I've started playing that, and every time I play it, I started playing on my Steam Deck as well. I got so many games to play. I just start playing it, and then I stop, and then I start playing it again. I think I got. Because the sequel's coming out soon for that game.
Oh, is it? To confuse matter, I have played The Outer Wilds, which is a completely different game.
They just remastered it as well recently, The Outer Worlds, and the PC port is just terrible. It's like, because people are like, I spent £10 to upgrade my version, and it's worse. It's just a complete mess. It runs like horse shit. It runs at like it's like 30 frames per second, and people got like a GT an RTX it's like 3070 or something, you know. Yeah, hopefully patches that will be fixed. But yeah, no, I just felt like I'll give you one mission. Like the missions for me compared to like New Vegas and Fallout 4, there are some good missions. Like in Fallout 4 you get a choice to blow up one of the settlements, one of the people you can side with. Isn't that right? You can like totally
Megaton.
Yeah, you can totally blow them up as part of the mission. One of the missions in New Vegas, like one of the later missions, is to assassinate the president. You either have a choice. You can assassinate the president, so it's like Kennedy, you know how Kennedy got, or you can try and rescue him. So then either way, like there is a way of doing it, like rescuing him and killing him, and then not affecting like the different factions.
But canonically, either way, you're going to piss someone off.
Well, no, because you can do it. You can.
No, what I mean by canonically is that they intended for you to do it one or the other.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know, because like they give you the, like you can put like a mine and hide it. You know, take out the guard. You know, put a mine there and then blow it up. Like when the president arrives with his helicopter, or you can get a sniper and snipe him. Stuff like that. Like they got cool. Like there's got some really cool missions. That's why I enjoyed more. Like Fallout 4, there was a lot of the side missions were quite repetitive. Like he's like, there's a settlement that needs clearing out, I've marked it on your map. Oh, okay. And then yeah, that's the thing. And then the guy from the Brotherhood of Steel, and he's like, there's a settlement I need you to take out for the Brotherhood of Steel. I'll give you some armor if you take out this settlement. And like, oh, okay. The side missions are rubbish in my opinion.
We see. Do you know what? That's quite funny. I went to the in the Brotherhood of Steel. You've got the guy who sells you guns and ammo. He wants you to go relinquish some food from the settlements. And I was like, but I set those settlements up. You're not having my food. So I declined his missions and I said, fuck you. I'm not doing that.
But yeah, the thing is, I also really want to get into Fallout 76.
It's online only though, isn't it?
Yeah, I have tried it like a few years back, and now it's free to play, because you had to pay at the time, and there wasn't any NPC characters or anything. You couldn't talk to people, but I've heard they've improved it, so they've added like stories and stuff and proper missions. So I suppose if you like Fallout, yeah, but you have you played all of the DLC as well?
It's not free. It's still £9 on Steam.
I think you have to buy the game, but you can play it for free. Like it's not a subscription. There's no.
Well, if you buy the game, you're not playing it for free.
There's no subscription. I thought there was a subscription.
Well, that would be to Xbox Live or PlayStation Now. Like if you're playing on PC, you never pay monthly. What is this? Destiny EVE Online? Gonna have it's got MTX, hasn't it? You can buy.
It's the microtransactions they're gonna get you to. You know, that's how they're making their money. I think I've got it free on the Windows Store.
Yeah, and I think it's on because we have Game Pass and PS Experience, whatever it is, and I think it's on one of those. So I could play it if I really wanted to.
Did you play just the standard Fallout 4 game, or was it like the game of the year with all the DLC?
I started on the standard, and then during the January sale, I picked up all the DLC.
Oh, so did you play them as well?
I've done a couple of them, but at the moment, I feel like I've done the main Fallout story mission, and I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to do all the DLC. So I did the first one accidentally. I was just in the vicinity of the starting mission, and that was the robot one, Automatrons, and that was actually a really short one. That's like a single mission, really. You know, took all of an hour or so. So I'm glad I didn't really pay for that. I got them as a season pass, so it was all together is like £12 as opposed to paying for each one individually. You know, it was the stuff it included was fine with the robots and everything, but yeah, the actual storyline was a bit rubbish. Then you got Nuka World, which is like the theme park, and I started that, but I think everyone loves that one, but I haven't been enthralled with it, so I kind of abandoned that, and I'm doing.
Did they have the caps in that? So it's like a drink, isn't it? In Fallout 4.
The caps? Well, that's the money.
No, I mean like the drink.
Nuka something. So it's like Nuka Cherry, Nuka Cola, Nuka Quantum. That's not unique to this game. It's throughout the series. And that's what the theme park is based on. That drink. It's like Coca-Cola Land, basically.
Yeah, they have that in, I think, New Vegas. I think they have the Sunset Express or something drink factory. So they have the same sort of thing. You go to the factory and it's like there's a huge crates of them and I want them. go and get them for me. And then you go to the factory and you're like, okay, stuff like that.
And then the other one that I'm doing is the Far Harbour, which is going off to an island near Boston, outside of Boston. That one I think is all right because it's a whole new map as opposed to just a small area, and it's got quite a few missions in it. So I am kind of doing that, but I'm not sure if I'm going to have a break first before I go back and do the DLC properly. Like I said, I'm 174 hours in. I'm starting to feel a little bit Fallout 4 fatigued, so...
But no, it's good that you finally did play it, though, because I never thought you would, and you've completed it.
Yeah, I did it all with a modded Beretta M93A or something. Basically James Bond's gun. I brought that in, fell in love with it because the damage on it was so good. Basically I don't like automatic weapons. I can't use machine guns or submachine guns or anything that fires more than one bullet. I just don't like the way they work, not without the easiness of GTA. So I always use single shot pistols in basically any other game. But the pistols in Fallout 4 aren't all that powerful. I think you are supposed to find other guns and everything like that. And granted, I haven't actually used the laser or energy weapons, so I probably should have used those. But once I found this modded gun, the base damage was really high, and once you max out your perks and fully mod out the gun, your damage is it was over 100 for the base damage, so it was really good. And even with a suppressor, it was such a good powerful gun. It was my only thing. The only problem I had is that it's 10mm ammo, and that is quite rare within the world, so I kind of constantly struggling to get ammo and just buying it at any any moment I can. But yeah, I didn't play it the way most people would, with picking up the first submachine gun they could and do it easy. No, I had to do it all with one or two. I actually had two silenced weapons the entire time because I had the Deliverer, which is one of the unique weapons, which I quite liked as well. Yeah, that's just the way I do gun gameplay, really. It's one of the reasons I like Red Dead Redemption, because there's no automatic weapons. It's all revolvers, pistols, and single-shot rifles.
I remember, early on when the game came out, there was, this little bug with the merchant in Diamond City. I don't know if you did the same. So, you can buy an item and then sell it back, and then for some reason he gives you, you can just keep selling it and selling it and selling it and, getting it back, get the money back. And you can end up, getting, a billion caps or something, and then you just buy everything. You buy a Fat Boy and nukes, and you can...
No, I didn't get there, but I'll be honest, I didn't really need to. I did get the perks to find... No, what was I doing? I wasn't doing that. No, I was just selling off all the weapons I didn't need, and I got to 20,000 caps, which at that point you can get all the ammo you need. There's nothing really to buy in the game, so I was okay with that. Oh, that modded gun that I put in the game... whenever I found additional versions of it, I would just sell them because they were incredibly valuable. So between those and fusion cores, it was quite good. But that reminded me of something. Yeah, I will admit, I didn't really use the Fat Boy that much. I think I fired about 3 mini nukes in the entire playthrough.
Oh yeah, because there's an after damage, isn't there?
Yeah, but and I'll be honest. One of them was accidental, so that frightened me a little bit. I don't know why. Sometimes with some games, I don't always get into. It's a bit like when I played Cyberpunk. I didn't really get into the quick hacking or the smart weapons, the auto weapons or whatever they called it. They got this system where you can just use a gun with its sights and like a normal first-person shooter, but you can also get these smart weapons where you don't use a sight. You just put your enemy in a box and shoot, and the gun kind of auto aims. It's really, I think it's gaming for easy people.
Assisting and aiming, it's called assist aim.
Yes, but it's not a setting within the game for assisted aiming. It is assisted aim in the real world of the world, if that makes sense. So to get it, you have to modify your body. You have to get an implant, like a cyber implant into your hand to allow you to use those weapons. And only when you've done that and you have the right weapons do you get this assisted aim. Yes, for all intents and purposes, it is assisted aim, but it's not a setting you turn on in the game. It's something you build into your character within the game. And if Cyberpunk was a real world, it would be real world assisted aim. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I never really got into that. I'm just, give me a gun with some bullets and I'll shoot. I actually in Cyberpunk, I don't think we've spoken about Cyberpunk much, but I did the whole game with blades. I found a katana once and I just fell in love with it. Between that and the mantis blades in the arms, it was great. I loved it. Oh, and again, when I did use a gun, always single shot pistols. I don't know why, it's just something I do.
I was going to ask, if I remember correctly, can you say to your companion, like, oh, here's a computer, can you unlock the computer?
Every time I tried it, the companion failed, and I was always better.
Yeah.
So yes, you can, but not once did they ever unlock a safe or a computer. I think different companions can do it at different levels. So like some can do easy ones, some can do moderate ones, some can't do it at all. So I think it depends on your companion, but anytime I tried it, it just didn't work. And because I played Skyrim, lockpicking is easy. Realistically, if I could have had access to the master ones, I could have done the master ones from the first day. Hacking took a little bit of time to get used to, but once you get... did you ever look into the max affinity perks with your companions?
I honestly can't remember. Sorry, man.
No, so max affinity perks, basically when your followers adore you, as the game kind of puts it, it gives you a hidden additional perk, and with the robot detective you get something to do with hacking, and that mixed in with either a perk or a bobblehead or something, it gives you it gives you one extra try and a 0 cooldown on hack attempts. So even if you get locked out, you can immediately go back in and try more attempts. Because the funny thing is, before I had those perks, I was actually doing it quite methodically and like finding the letters that were matching and everything. But then once I got those perks, it didn't really matter. I just press 5 here, oh, locked out, press another 5, oh, locked out, press another 5, oh, we're in. And most of the time that was quicker than trying to work it out cleverly. And I think the other thing is when you get higher up into the hacking ability, there's fewer words on the screen for you to have to pick from. So you start off with 10 words, and then you go down to 8 and 6 and something like that. I think I don't know if I saw that in the game officially, but it felt that way. There was one time I was looking for the words and I couldn't see any words. Like there was almost one whole page where there was just no words, and they were all on the second screen because there were so few words available. So.
Yeah, I just remember that it's a lot easier in Fallout 4 than it is in Fallout 3 in New Vegas.
Yeah, because in Fallout 3, if you get locked out, that computer is locked out completely, isn't it? In New Vegas, I tried to get into there's a computer in a bar or a school, and I tried to hack into it, and I was locked out and I could never get back into it. So when I come into Fallout 4, I just assumed it was the same, but then I got locked out. I was like, oh crap, I can't get into this computer. Accidentally pressed E. Oh, okay, we can try it again. So
isn't there like a timer, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, 10-second timer, which is nothing really.
The thing is, it's like all you got to remember in Fallout 3 New Vegas, it's like, oh, I've got one try left. You just come out and then you got to go back in. So that it does eat up a lot of time, and then you get it wrong again.
Oh really? Do you know what? I never did much hacking in it, but I didn't realise coming out and going back in resets the attempts. But what I don't know, and it doesn't really matter because you don't want to lock the computer out at all, but what I never worked out in any of the games is going out and into the computer, the terminal, does that change what the password is or not, or is it consistently the same password? I think it changes every time you go out of the terminal and go back in, but I could never confirm it.
I think it changes it. The thing is, to be honest, I always just used to hit blindly, and I was like, okay, it could be this. Okay, no, it's not that. Okay, it could be this. And then eventually I get lucky and it's like, oh yeah, you cracked it. Yeah, I did not like the computer hacking in Fallout 3 New Vegas. That's like the worst thing. Tried to not, I just felt like...
Yeah, you can probably get a mod to...
Oh yeah, you can just...
get around that.
You can probably use terminal or something. Terminal commands. So you can just open doors. You can do that in Fallout 4 as well. But yeah, generally though, you think it's a good game, but the reality is, it'd be nice if you could play one of the other Fallout games, like Fallout 3 or New Vegas, and then do like a comparison.
Yeah, I enjoyed the snot out of Fallout 4. I enjoyed the times where I spent all evening doing basically nothing, just going around exploring or building in the base, and I also enjoyed the times when I was doing missions. The only thing about Bethesda, and I think it's the same for all of their games, whether it's been Skyrim or Fallout, their missions are just so short. Like, sometimes I've put off doing what I thought were the penultimate or final missions because I thought, I don't want to get... You play like GTA or Red Dead, And if you go into some missions, it turns out they're half an hour or 40 minutes long, because sometimes it's one mission, but it's actually 3 missions chained together. Fallout 4 has nothing like that. I don't think any of their missions are longer than 5 or 10 minutes. It's just weird how short even big start or finishing missions actually end up being. It's just strange. It feels old. It feels like they're still designing games in the 90s or early 2000s, not for like 2010, 2015 when this game came out.
Well, it's based off top-down, isn't it? Well,
No. I know they started there, but Bethesda didn't
Bethesda.
make those games. That's a different game company. It's a different game company doing Fallout 3 and 4. So it's not really. It's just the same universe and some of the lore.
Like they tried to keep it when they were making the game. They were like, because at the time the fans were like, "Well, this is an outrage. How can they're gonna make like?" Because I don't know if you played Oblivion.
I have started Oblivion. That's the one where you are in prison and the king comes and meets you or something. But I haven't played the whole game. I've started it.
Yeah. So if you played like the fighting mechanics in Oblivion, it's like the same as Fallout 3, but Fallout 3 you just got the guns. It's a bit like what was I gonna say? So because
I got 2.5 hours in Oblivion.
That's fine. Don't worry about that.
It's not a lot.
No, because at the time, they just made Oblivion, and they were like really worried about, and they kind of did. They just took Oblivion and just gave it a bit of a face paint and changed it a little bit. It's essentially like the same mechanics and stuff, but you just got guns and stuff, and it's all the same engine anyway. Yeah. So, but
yeah, I think someone said for Fallout 4. It's the same engine as Skyrim, so the vertibirds with that the Brotherhood of Steel are flying around in, they're actually using the code they use for the dragons in Skyrim.
Well, yeah, why not? Yeah, just change the asset. Would you ever consider, like, if you played Fallout 3 and then you played Fallout New Vegas, and you're like, oh man, I really want to play another Fallout game, would you ever consider playing the original Fallout 1 and 2?
I don't know. I'm not saying no. They are... I don't know.
It is hard.
Yeah.
It is. Fallout 1 is hard. Because you basically...
I started playing games when games were a bit more advanced than that. And even talking about like GTA, like I have played GTA 1, but not for any real length of time. I have kind of started playing video games when 3D gaming was kind of accessible, like the PS2 era and then the equivalents on the PC. Like top-down gaming... Outside of like SimCity and the first Sims games, I've not really done top-down or isometric gaming in any real sense, or Age of Empires, I suppose. But that's RTS, not RPG. So I've seen some clips from it, and it looks intriguing. But I don't know. Like, I'm not going to say no. But and the other thing is like, what am I going to play it on? Like, does it work on PC anymore? Would I have to play it on console? Like compatibility and everything. It's like. You never know with these games.
It's on GOG. It works on Windows 10 and Windows 11.
Okay, that's surprising if I'm honest. But okay.
Yeah, well, it's on GOG, isn't it? So they make it. That's what they do. No, the problem with that game. Let me just say that I think it is that one game, the first game. There's a timer, and if you don't do it within the timer, what you've got to do, then the game just completely ends. But you can use mods. It's like get rid of the timer.
When you say the timer, do you mean the whole storyline?
Yeah, that's it. It's game over. So
okay. Yeah, but that kind of makes sense because what I know of the first storyline is that you're looking for you're trying to replace the water or something. So it kind of makes sense that there would be a tight schedule, and modern games you don't tie in world because another meme about Fallout is that. Oh, I'm looking for my son, but let me build a skyscraper at one of my settlements. So busy. Modern games don't do that thing where you have to progress the story in a timely manner. They let you take time away from the mission and do stuff. Wander around, look at lore, upgrade your weapons and everything. And none of that actually really fits in with the story of trying to find your kid or anything like that. But it's what people enjoy playing. So. Videos back when Fallout 1 come out, they were a lot harsher on players. We know that from like Sonic, which had no save games. Every time you played it, you had to start from level 1. So
yeah,
not surprising.
Yeah, that's the thing. I might get into it, but like I said, I would probably play it with mods, so it allows you to deactivate some of the in-game.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the thing, is that if I ever go back to Fallout 3, New Vegas, or any of the older ones, I'm just going to have to mod it. I've never modded Skyrim or anything, but Fallout 4, I kind of got into the modding, and now I'm there, I think I'll just go full horse and do it. Maybe even if I go back to play Oblivion. I don't think I'll do I have got Morrowind. I don't know if I'm going to do Morrowind, but I might do Oblivion if I find some time where there's no other games.
Yeah, I spent some time with Oblivion. It's quite good. It's pretty much the same as Fallout 3 though, but you didn't really enjoy that. So. But the thing, that's the thing. And then those games are like the trial run for Skyrim though, because then that's what came out from those games is Skyrim. So it's like there's elements within those games that you're like, oh, okay, this is good. This is some of it is not as good as Skyrim, but then some of it's like, well, at least that's refreshing. There's some refreshing aspects of it. I enjoy all of the Fallout games and Elder Scrolls games, but I think.
So how many of them have you played?
To completion, 3, New Vegas, and Fallout 4. And then I've just dabbled with Fallout 1 and 2. And I think there is a Fallout 3 as well, made by the guys that made Fallout 1 and 2. But it was like an unreleased game.
Well, yes. Basically, they had made 80% of the game when Bethesda bought them, and then they kind of started it from scratch as a 3D game, not a
top-down. The contract that they had was, we're going to buy you out. And like, okay, that's great. And you can still go ahead and release your game. They had no...
Oh, I thought it was unreleased.
Yeah, it was unreleased. But they just, I don't know what happened. They ran out of money or something. It just completely fell apart. So they were like, you can release one Fallout game. There's some technical lawsuit thingy, and then they were allowed to release another Fallout game, but they never did for some reason. I don't know if they ran out of money, but it doesn't really make sense if they've just been bought out or. But if you're intrigued, there's like documentaries out there on YouTube about why.
Yeah, I mean that's how I learned about it. Is from that YouTuber. I think he was talking about they were trying to work out some deep lore about aliens or something like that, and he said, oh, it's not technically canon, but it was written by the guys who wrote Fallout 1 and 2, so it's adjacent kind of thing. So it was like a semi-source for some of the lore that was in the universe.
I think for me, I would probably be happier if they went back to more of the mechanics of New Vegas and Fallout 3. For me, like, for some reason, I wouldn't really want to replay Fallout 4 again. Once I've played it, I'm like, okay, yeah, I've done that, and I didn't really enjoy the way it looked and the way it played, some of it. But
I don't think you're going to get
that's the thing, but a lot.
I think the evolution of gaming is that games typically get easier and more mainstream with each subject release.
Well, not just that. Not just that. The way the game played, the way the game looked, the way the game.
What about the game? The way the game looks. What's wrong?
There's something about New Vegas and Fallout 3 that is special, and I think the Outer Worlds tried to capture that, but I haven't played enough of it. But I've heard some good things about that game, like I said. But yeah, I don't know if they could try and just. I don't know. There's something about those two games, especially New Vegas. It's just very special. But for me, Fallout 4 was a bit of a misstep. After there was so much hype about that game, there was a lot of hype, and I just don't think it really delivered, in my opinion. But I'm hoping for the next. And then Fallout 76. Yeah, I've played a little bit, and at launch and stuff, that was really disappointing. That was just such a low point. It was just like you can tell that they didn't care anymore. They were just like, oh yeah, we're just microtransactions. Buy this, buy that. You can do, they didn't put any effort into that. But it seems like they've, since, people started making a fuss, like, what the hell's going on? They have tried to turn it around at least.
Well, I mean, there's the next thing. It's like Skyrim 6. The Elder Scrolls 6 has barely been announced. It's almost not even been acknowledged apart from that 1-minute video that they released a couple of years ago. So if Elder Scrolls 6 is so far out, When do you think the next Fallout game is going to be? Like, it's already 8 years old, and the next Elder Scroll game is going to come out next. So what? Fallout 5 is going to be like 2030?
No, it's not. It's not. No. The next game's going to be Starfield.
Oh well, yeah. There's even that. So you got Starfield first, and then you've got the Elder Scrolls 6.
That was meant to be coming out like
April, and then it was delayed to fall, hasn't it? But that's what I mean. It's like Fallout 4 that came out in 2015. We said it's 2023, so it's 8 years old. You know, there's all these memes about when's GTA 6 coming out, when's Elder Scrolls 6 coming out, but when's the next Fallout coming out? Like, if we've got to wait for Skyrim, we've got to wait for Starfield and Skyrim 2. Fallout 5 is going to be ages away. It's going to be like another 10 years.
No, because the thing is, like, when Skyrim came out, then we got... I'm thinking we got Elder Scrolls Online possibly before that.
I think, aren't they like different teams or something?
Yeah, but they're still... it's the same company, you know what I mean? And then
I don't really consider them the same game, but...
And then they got Fallout 4, and then they're still updating Elder Scrolls Online. And I did play that, and it's not too bad.
Yeah,
it wasn't too bad. It was interesting, you know. But I'm not really too much into MMOs. But yeah, that's the thing. Like, these things take time, and they have, like I said, they spent some time on Fallout 76, but that was just a misfire completely when it first came out. The thing is, the reason why they announced that is because they need to let the stakeholders know that there's something coming in the pipe works. That's the reason, and also the fact that just to let the fans.
I'm sure they can tell the stakeholders something's coming without announcing something.
That's
to
what
the
I was going to say.
world.
So, and the fans as well, because you know, it's like what's a good example? Well, a lot of companies do that. It's like the Switch do it, Nintendo do it with Zelda, don't they? They announced that Zelda's coming, or Metroid. There's going to be a new Metroid game, a Metroid 4, but they haven't though. They announced like in 2016 there's going to be a Metroid 4. There's no been, but they told, you know, that's what they did. They announced it, so it's like yeah, it's happening, but you know, give us time. Instead of people just probably nagging him, and I was like, where's the game? You know what I mean? It's like that. You don't want a situation where, and then it can go the opposite way. It's like Half-Life 3, because they did start making that game, but luckily they never announced like, oh yeah, we are looking into it, because they were like, I don't know, maybe the game that they made was not up to scruff, so they silently just cancelled it inside the company, and because it was never announced, they can just deny ever existing. And but there's been like artwork and stuff been made for the characters, sprites and stories, you know, the scripts and stuff have been leaked for that game. So there was some sort of development, but because they never announced it, they can just say, oh no, never happened, and it's not going to happen. So there you go. So I don't know, some companies do it different ways. They don't all follow the same. But at least you know it's going to happen. Like they've announced it. It's not like they're not going to deliver on a game that they've announced. There is going to be an Elder Scrolls 6, but I think it just stops people from being like, where's the game? It's like GTA 6. People are like, where's the game? And then we finally found out, yeah, the game is coming out, but only because it got leaked by that hacker guy. But you think that's a positive? Do you think that's, have we really benefited from knowing the fact that they are making a game? It's like, it's obvious they're making a game. They're not just going to be sitting there doing nothing, are they? They're going to be making something.
Well, it's not obvious because they're making so much money from GTA Online. There could feasibly not be a GTA 6.
They know, like, inside it. It's like, that's why I wanted to talk about, like, the Switch. Like, internally, right now, they're like, okay, we need to start. Well, they must have came out like 2-3 years ago. Like, we need to start thinking about another Switch. How are we gonna move what we currently have over to this next Switch? What are we gonna do? Are we gonna have like a Switch 2, or are we gonna have like a Switch Pro?
Well, that'd be a terrible idea.
Well, there you go. That's the problem.
You look at what happened. Look what happened with the Wii and the Wii U. No one bought the Wii U because they thought exactly the same thing.
Exactly, and this is what's going to be very interesting. It's like how they're going to transition from. It has to be Switch something. Though. It has to be.
No, it's got to be something completely different. It has to be.
No.
At this point, it's too late for them. It's too late for them to do a Switch Pro because the Switch is just so old and outdated. They need to come up with a new console entirely. If they come out with Switch 2, you're going to have so many people confused as to whether it's going to be compatible or not. Because Nintendo doesn't do game consoles like others. They do some backwards compatibility, but not other stuff. So I think for the strategy that Nintendo have had in the past, they just need to. Every console they do just has a unique name, and then they can talk about the compatibility of it as a separate story.
I don't know, because what happened with the Wii U is like they didn't need to make the Switch compatible with the Wii U. They just said, okay, we're just gonna the Wii U version to the Switch, and then give you all the DLC and up-res it to 1080p and like job done. And then people started buying it. It's like
up-res it to 1080p. I thought they up-resed it. I thought it was 720.
Oh well, yeah, that's.
Oh no, that's in handheld mode, isn't it?
Yeah. In dock mode it's 1080p, but yeah, it's 720p on handheld. But yeah, but people. What I'm trying to say is like people didn't even realize that some of these games existed on the Wii U, so they were like, oh.
But the thing is, right, is if they make the Switch 2 now, and then you release a game for the Switch, you're gonna have to do the same thing. When you try and make a game for the PS4 and the PS5, you've got to make it work on both systems.
No, not necessarily. Their history.
Whereas if you don't make the Switch 2, but you make the Hoopla, then you make a game for the Hoopla because that's the current generation. It's simple to know that it went Wii U, Switch, Hoopla. Than it is to know when Wii U, Switch, and Switch 2. The Switch 2 doesn't feel like a new generation of gaming. It feels like a stepping stone, like the Wii U felt like to outsiders, not necessarily technologically. That's what it was, but that's why a lot of people weren't buying it because they just thought it was an accessory to the Wii. So it's got to be separate.
I think so. Like it's been like 6-7 years, and I think there's two ways they could extend the life. And this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, like, a good example which they've done before is the Game Boy. The Game Boy lasted like 1980, I think it's like 1989 to like 1990 or early 2000.
Yeah, it was early 2000.
And what they did is just added the fact that the Game Boy was in color, but the actual core. There was some enhancements producing a coloured version of the game, but you could still play.
That was only true to a certain extent. So, like, yeah, you could put the same game cartridge into a Game Boy or a Game Boy Color, but then once you got to the advanced and some of the newer ones, it kind of all changed.
Yeah.
So it's not like all Game Boys were compatible.
That's what I'm trying to say. So that was a completely different.
But that's not a good situation to be in, though, is it?
Well, that's what they could do. That's what they could do. They can make a more pro version of the Switch and keep it the Switch, and then but they would have to make sure that games that would come out would also work with the Switch that came out in 2017. But that's the
But that's not a great situation to be in, though.
Yeah, well, exactly.
It has to be a next generation gaming console. Like,
well, it will be though. It will be.
Yeah, but the games coming out need to be current gen, not current and previous. And I know people are going to be like, oh, but not everyone can afford to buy a new game console. But like, technology has to move on at some point.
I think if they were to release a new Switch, wherever it will be. I think it will be the equivalent to a PS4 Pro, something that can produce a 4K content. And it might not.
That's a jump, considering they're not really 1080p at the moment.
It might, it could say the screen will still be at 720p, but then on dock mode, you could upscale it from 1080p to 4K. So it won't be like a native 4K, and they could use DLSS, couldn't they? They could use like some.
They're using AMD, so it'll be FRS. But yeah, they could use something like that. And I suppose that's probably about the only way they're going to do it, because if all the games that already exist, Is that going to be hardware level or game level dependent?
Yeah,
maybe a bit of both, I guess. But
this is not out of the world. Like, they could do this because they could have the pro version of the Switch, and then say, okay, here's a version. Say, like, okay, let's say Hogwarts Legacy, right? Say instead of it coming out this year, because I know the game is coming out for the Switch, but I don't know if it's a physical port or streaming. But say if it comes out for physically
streaming. What do you mean by streaming? There's no streaming on the Switch.
Yeah, so this is my point. So, some of the games that are too, like, say, what's one of the games? Control. Now, Control's on Switch, but you can only, it's all streaming.
I didn't know they had that on the Switch.
Yeah, so it's streaming. So what they could do is, like, the pro version is an actual version that you download and store on your SD card on your Switch, and it runs on your Switch. Then the standard Switch would be like a stream. It'll be a stream to your Switch, so you would need a Wi-Fi connection. So they could do it like that, but most people, the whole point of having a Switch is that they take it outside. But yeah,
on the bus.
Exactly. So yeah, it's difficult because they're saying, like, because Microsoft have just made a deal with Nintendo for Call of Duty, and they say that.
No.
So they've made a partnership with.
I wonder if that's how they got GoldenEye on the 360. Not on the 360. On Game Pass.
Oh, that's a long story. The ones that are holding that deal up were Nintendo, because they wanted.
Yeah, but maybe Call of Duty was the bargaining chip.
Well, no, the bargaining chip
could have been. You never know.
The bargaining chip was what they wanted is so Xbox wanted to make a really advanced, like, version of the game, but then the problem was it had to work on the Switch, and it had to be like basically like the same sort of game in terms of spec and performance than the Xbox Switch version. So that's what they were demanding, and Xbox was like, I don't know, so but they actually got what they wanted. So the Xbox version is like this. It's very similar to the Switch version. But anyway, that's a different discussion. But I was gonna say, sorry, you've stumbled me now. The
cloud streaming.
Oh, sorry, yeah. So yeah, they currently do that now with most games. And the annoying thing is, one of the games, I think like Kingdom Hearts 3 or 4, you buy the game and you own it for 6 months to a year. You own it.
Oh,
yeah.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Sorry. No.
You don't.
No, I just. Sorry. As we're reading this, Lance Reddick, who played Silent in Horizon and some other things, he's just died.
Oh, well, that's a shame.
He did quite a few voices in some other games. I don't know. Do you know who he is? You might. He was in The Wire and John Wick, and he'd done a few video games. He was in Young Sheldon, but we won't talk about that. He has a very unique, distinctive voice.
Oh, if he was on, I've seen John Wick, and I've seen bits of The Wire. But yeah, that's sad to hear.
That's a shame. He was only 60.
But yeah, no. So I was saying about like Kingdom Hearts. So like you buy the game, but then you own it for like a year, and then that's it. Well, because it's probably streaming, because they have to. I don't know. It's you're streaming.
A bit like Google Stadia, where you pay for the streaming and you pay for the games you stream on the streaming system.
So that's only one way I can think. Like, if there was if they were gonna have I don't know, like if what you're saying, like a next gen Switch, and make it backwards compatible, it would all be streaming. But the thing is, like I said, like Microsoft and Nintendo have made a deal for Call of Duty to be on the Switch, and the funny thing is, they said 150 consoles out there will be able to access Call of Duty, and then we're all thinking, everyone's like, oh no, it's going to be streaming, like you have to, and then they said no, it's going to be a native port. So it looks like they're actually going to make a port just specifically for Call of Duty for Switch.
It'll be cartoon style.
I know, it has to be really scaled back, but it's possible.
It'll look like Call of Duty did 10 years ago on the PC or something.
But remember they had Call of Duty 4 on the Wii, and that wasn't a bad port. I don't know if you ever played that version of the game.
I haven't played any Call of Duty really. It's not my sort of game.
No, nor is it me, but it's just interesting to see, like, they're thinking they'd be able to get that game on the Switch, but I just don't see the point when you can just get a Steam Deck and play it on the Steam Deck on Steam.
Well, you don't see the point from you. The whole point is Microsoft can sell more copies of the game to people. So, yeah, that's the whole point. It's not about you, it's about them getting money for it. So,
you can...
a bit skeptical,
Well,
wasn't
no, the other thing that you can do as well on Steam Deck is like you can use Game Pass and stream it. If it'll be a better version, you can still like stream it to your deck as well if you wanted.
Yeah, but if you've already got a Switch, you're not going to go out and spend £300 on a Steam Deck. Like, I mean, you know, fair play to getting it available on as many platforms as possible, but...
And that's the thing, I think that's what Microsoft absolutely love, is to get Game Pass on the Switch somehow, you know, but...
I was about to say something that would make no sense. I was about to say, Microsoft, they need to make something like the Steam Link, so they've got a tiny little device connected to your TV at all times to do Game Pass from. Then I realised that's called an Xbox.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen in terms of, like, because I know Sony are not happy about some of this stuff as well, and they're trying to, like, counter and say, oh, that...
Yeah, there's all this stuff. I've seen a lot of this stuff go on. It's like, oh, Sony's moaning about exclusives being bad, and it's like, okay, but, like, Ragnarok, Horizon, it's just...
Well, no, not just that. They actually said, they said something really disrespectful. I couldn't believe that what they were saying like that. Well, I know that it was the lawyers that said it. So they put together saying, if Microsoft get a hold of this, you know, if the acquisition goes through, they could potentially make a downgraded version for the PlayStation version, like an inferior version. And they were like, why would you think a game company would purposely make an inferior version? Why would they want to sell as many copies? They want to get it on many platforms as they can.
Yeah, well, that's the thing though. It's like, do they? The thing is, like, we've spoken before. Like, when you buy a game, 30% of that goes to Sony or Microsoft. And if you're Microsoft and you sell a game on a PlayStation, you're giving away 30% of that game. Whereas if you sell it on the Xbox, you're getting 100% of that, because you're Microsoft, you're getting the 30% and the 70%. So if you're going to put your game on a PlayStation, it's not going to use any of the PlayStation exclusive features, and that's probably what Sony are kind of salty about. They want people to feel like they want all of their games to feel PlayStation native, which is obviously not possible to do, but some games are doing it. So
the thing is, like we just said about like the Switch, is like some people have only got a Switch and then they can only play Call of Duty on the Switch. Some people only have a PlayStation, and if they have an option to buy Call of Duty, even if they get 30% of the cut, that's still a sale that they're going to receive, Microsoft. So you can't just say, oh, you know, instead of getting 100%, yes, it will make people might think, oh, okay, I needed to get an Xbox, you know, but they're not about that anymore. They're not about selling consoles anymore. They're about subscriptions. Microsoft is all about subscriptions, and then trying to spread their content as much as possible to every other platform that sell content on their stores.
Yeah, I suppose it does kind of track with some of their other products as well, but
they're not about consoles anymore. Like and it was quite evident when you boot up an Xbox Series X. It's exactly the same as an Xbox One. There's no next gen feeling to it. It's like, oh, it's just, yeah, here's the next box, has a better CPU and graphics card.
That's where the PlayStation 5 does kind of just totally trump it. Like, the PlayStation 5 experience just feels so vastly experienced.
Well, yeah, you don't...
It's so much better than the Xbox ever was. Like, Jen picked up the... we still got the Xbox One S, and Jen wanted to play Forza, so we got that going. She picked up the Xbox controller, and it just feels so cheap and plasticky, and it hasn't got any features in it other than buttons, where the PS4 and the PS5, they've got the DualSense controllers, and they've got various things that they do, and they feel high quality. It lights up, it rumbles, it's got force triggers, it's got the touchpad, it's got gyro sensors. Like, the feeling within PlayStation just feels way more special than the Xbox ever has. And I think I said that, like, in one of our very first podcasts, where I said, you know, I was talking about despite we had a 360 and a 1S at that point, but always remember picking up a PlayStation 1 or a PlayStation 2 controller, and there's just something nostalgic about that controller which I'd never feel for any of the Xbox controllers, even though I feel like the Xbox controller is more comfortable in the hand than the PlayStation version. It's just, Sony have nailed that quality in a way that Microsoft just aren't meeting, don't care to meet, whatever. And it is more than just the controller. It is other things as well. You know, the interface, like you said, like Xbox One and the Xbox Series, the interface is basically unchanged. So it just feels like a computer that you're using, and sometimes it feels like you're using Windows 8, sometimes it feels like you're using Windows 11, but they're mostly the same. Whereas PlayStation are kind of changing their UI for each of their PlayStation. Some are better than others, and the PlayStation had nothing, the PS2 barely had anything, the PS3 had the cross things. I never used the PS4, so I don't know what they've got. And the PS5 is quite nice. They are doing stuff, they're trying things out where Xbox are just, here, we're doing what we know best. Install this slightly modified version of Windows onto this computer and call it a day. Which is fine, but there's a whole world out there if you've never used a PlayStation. Like, the PlayStation world genuinely does feel nicer.
Yeah, I haven't really. I the only time I've been able to access the PS5 was at your house, barn, when you was living in the barn. But yeah,
bungalow. Don't live in a barn.
Sorry, bungalow. What am I saying? I don't know. For some reason I thought barn, but yeah, no. I think it's kind of similar to the PS4, but they've given it a kind of a good shake-up. It's not the same, but you can see where the ingredients...
But if you had a PS4 and you went to a PS5, you wouldn't feel lost.
Exactly.
Like you would going from a 3... Because actually, I will say, going from the 360 to the Xbox One interface took me so long because there's so many ads and trying to sell you stuff on the Xbox One that just wasn't there in the 360. Recently, I think when I was setting up the 360 to give away to someone, and I used it for a little bit, and I was like, oh, this is just so much nicer to use. Like, I don't want to... I'd rather keep this than the One S.
Yeah, because it's like... I haven't switched it on a good while, but it's like... It felt like you have to go through a few settings just to get to your games. Like, you have to... it's like you have to press like left.
If it wasn't the last game you played, then yes, the games aren't immediately available. I think you get the last 2 or 3 games are like in a row along the top, but any other game you have to scroll down to your games, which are beneath your apps.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah, exactly.
It's like the last thing you used is top and center, which might be a game, it might be an app, and then you got apps, and then you got games, all of your other games. It's just, I think they also wanted you to use voice control, like with the Kinect. So it's like, hey Xbox, launch God of War, and then it launches it smartly for you. But that never happened. So yeah, the interface was as it was.
I love that as well. I love that because when that first came out, they had like this Aaron Paul advert. It's like Xbox Forza. So when that was on the TV, people had like their Xbox on standby, and then when he said that it played, it started launching Forza.
But I mean, all of them do that. I know people have done. They've said, "Okay, Google, search up dogs." But what they do is, instead of saying dogs, they say you might have like a famous person say, "Search the movie that I was just in," or something like that, and it's a bit sneaky. I don't know. It's just,
yeah. I mean, that pretty much wraps up. I think we've gone over a little bit. An hour and a half, gee.
You're only going to do half an hour. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Please feel free to like, subscribe and comment on YouTube, or follow us in your podcast app of choice. Goodbye.